Welcome back to Wild Treasures as we continue to look at the plight that pangolins face and what the global community is doing to help them. Illegal trade of fauna and flora in the world is big business, with many linking it to terrorism and other criminal activities. We caught up with the World Wildlife Fund's wildlife trade analyst, Dr. Coleman O'Creodayan, who painted this picture for us.
There have been estimates that it's worth as much as $20 billion. It's very, very difficult to make reliable estimates. The best source of information for detail about the scale of the trade and the effects of it in terms of governance, whether or not it affects terrorism and so on, is the UNODC Wildlife Crime Report, which was published in May, and where we were part of the peer review committee.
A global wildlife conference that will be hosted on our shores, COP17, is set to tackle wildlife crime with the hope that nations that have signed up for CITES will make declarations and commit themselves to protect species of concern.
Well, actually, the UNODC report identified a number of high species of concern, which included elephants, of course, pangolins, rosewood, rhinos, and this was on the basis of the volume of the species in trade, so that they would probably be the most serious.
Consumers of these animals are mostly in China, with some of the markets trading the pangolin fetus to make a delicacy for the rich.
Well, certainly the biggest consumer of pangolins is China, because the scales are part of traditional Chinese medicine. Unfortunately, it's a product that can't be substituted in their pharmacopoeia, but although we respect Chinese medicine as we respect all traditional Chinese medicines, we have to say that that doesn't give China a right to exterminate pangolins. The meat is also valued, both here in Africa, where it has properties beyond its taste and flavour and nutrition. It has all kinds of folk associations, and similarly in Asia, the meat has always been in high value.
Pangolins will also be discussed at the conference with the World Wildlife Fund and the African Pangolin Working Group, hoping that the species will move from Appendix 2 to Appendix 1. This will prohibit all trade of pangolins unless the purpose of import is not for commercial use.
We are cautiously optimistic on the pangolin proposals, that they will be listed in Appendix 1. They have quite a wide support base. China has some misgivings. Namibia has expressed misgivings about the African species, but overall there's overwhelming support, and so we would be optimistic on those. Many of the other species that are of most concern to us are already on Appendix 1, so the issue is more with illegal trade than legal. And I say that even in relation to elephants, because although the 4 southern African populations technically are in Appendix 2, that listing is circumscribed by so many conditions that effectively ivory trade is illegal, commercial ivory trade is illegal as things stand. So yes, the issue is in addressing illegal trade, in identifying the countries that are playing a role in this and helping them, but also pressuring them to deal with this problem.
Many countries have gathered and agreed on certain policies affecting wildlife trading. In certain instances, the quota of arrangements has failed to stem illegal trade.
There needs to be a lot more capacity building, and in a lot of cases we're not doing it in a favourable environment. We're dealing with countries that have governance and capacity and resource issues that go way, way beyond wildlife crime. So that is a major problem. But at the same time, in many countries, lack of political will is also a problem, and lack of political will can be remedied by the threat of CITES suspending trade in CITES listed species with those countries. Mozambique is an example of where there appears to be political will, but there's certainly lack of capacity and lack of resources, and in some ways that's a more difficult situation to deal with, but these are the kind of challenges we're going to have to address.
Thousands of pangolins are illegally captured every year, with every species now being listed as vulnerable in Africa. Unlike other species like rhinos and elephants, pangolins are defenseless when it comes to poaching. In fact, they are known to continue doing their business even when they come across a person.
Pangolins haven't got a mean bone in their body. They eat only ants and termites, they've got no teeth, they don't bite. And once you're in their presence, they accept you within a few minutes and carry on foraging around you. It's almost unheard of. Something that can trust a human being with no fear and to accept your presence totally is just something we could take a scale of them from and a bit more respect. And once you've been in the presence of these unique animals, you'll understand how we need to protect them more.
The only way that this species can be helped is for people to be aware of it and the plight it's facing. The African Pangolin Working Group, along with the South African Post Office, has come up with a plan that will see this mammal get a bit of the spotlight.
The South African Post Office approached us for a unique stamp design, one stamp for every species of African pangolin, to be launched at CITES COPE 17 later this year. And that's the first of its kind for a pangolin to be on the stamp, and that's something that the public can also take interest in, and it means so much to our country to have one of the most unique animals on earth to appear on our South African Post Office stamp, which is fantastic.
Educating the public about this species will also go a long way in highlighting the challenges it faces.
Well, in Africa, certainly not to participate in it. There are some countries where there are domestic markets for some of these species, not so much here in South Africa, and we would discourage people from buying any wildlife products until they establish the provenance. We would certainly say to people going on holidays, don't buy wildlife products unless you know where they come from, and certainly don't take the assurances of the people selling them about where they come from and whether it's even legal to bring them back home.
I think, just the guy on the street, we've got a Facebook page, we've got a website, we've got a sightings login database. To find out what their distribution is, how many there are left, etc., is a huge contribution. I think if people want to know more, they should just Google African Pangolin Working Group, go and see what we're doing on those pages, see where you can get involved. If there's anything we can help people, like public lectures, awareness, etc., etc. Those are the small things that mean a lot to us. And just to spread the word, children's projects, do it on pangolins, something probably your classmates have never heard about. We can send material, we can send interesting facts, and that'll just make something different in the classroom. Little things like that go a big way.
Because very little is known about pangolins, it's not easy to figure out the role they play in our ecosystem, as the animal doesn't have a known natural predator besides human beings. Given that, we also wouldn't want to discover after the species is extinct that the environment needs pangolins.
So little is known about pangolin, about their behavior, about their ecology. We're learning all the time with all the research that we're doing and all the observations that we're making, and getting information about them. But to not conserve this incredible animal when we know so little about it would be almost criminal in my view. We have to conserve it. It doesn't matter whether we don't understand where it exactly fits into the ecological systems in the world, but the fact that it is in such dire straits We're losing it before our very eyes. As we speak, we're losing this species, and we have to put all effort into conserving it, because there might be things down the line that we discover about it that we would never have known if we hadn't made the effort.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of Wild Treasures. My name is Stefanie Jansen van Vuren, and remember to catch us next week, same time, same place. Till then, Salam Handle.